I'm going to be reading storybooks in an English accent while wearing pineapple glasses in a dimly lit room because it's 4/20, 2020. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. And I hope you all know. To like stay indoors or something, I don't know. So such a bad idea. Alright, let's do this. I'll show you this. That's sinister looking. I'm trying to look at it sinister. Alright, book one. A Walk It in My Pocket. By Dr. Seuss. And Findo in my window. A nook case in my bookcase. There's a Walk-It in my pocket. By Dr. Seuss. Did you ever have the feeling there was a wasket in your basket? Or Noru in your boru? I heard say that. Or a wasset in your closet? Sometimes I feel quite certain there's a jerton in my curtain. Sometimes I have the feeling there's a zlock in my clock. And that Zelf up on the shelf, I've talked to him myself. That's the kind of house I live in. There's a nink in the sink, and a zamp in the lamp. And they're rather nice, I think. Some of them are very friendly, like the yacht in the pot. Put that yottle in the bottle. Some are friendly, some are not. I like the Zabel on the table, and the Gehair under the chair. But the Bofa on the sofa, well, I wish he wasn't there. Just like this quarantine. All the nupboards in the cupboards, they're good fun to have about. But that Luth Groosh on my toothbrush, I screwed that up so unimaginably bad that I'm going to keep reading. Him, I could do without. The only one I am really scared of is the Vug under the rug. And that Quimney up the chimney. I don't like him, not at all. And it makes me sort of nervous when the Zal scoots down the hole. But the Yeps on the steps, they're great fun to have around. And so are many, many other friends that I have found. like the tiller, the neller, the seller, the deller. I read that wrong. Enjoy that. Like the teller, and the neller, and the geller, and the deller, and the hell. Yeah, I keep reading this page wrong. Hey, quarantine. Wearing pineapple glasses and reading Dr. Seuss. 2024-2020. There goes the other book. Okay, this last time I'm going to attempt this page. Like the teller and the neller and the... Restarting that page. Oh, this is... If you're watching, I'm doing this at like 3 in the morning. So... Yeah. This is fun. Like the teller and the neller and the getler and the deller and the beller and the weller and the zeller and the seller. And the gilling on the ceiling and the zower in my shower and the zillow on my pillow. I don't care if you believe it. That's the kind of house I live in, and I hope we never leave it. The end. Now that's a pretty spooky book. What am I doing? 5? Am I on that right? All these books are coincidentally yellow. I just figured I'd point that out. The Itsy Bitsy Spider. The Itsy Bitsy Spider. Illustrated by Constanza Basulazu. Apologies, not really, but... The itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout. No longer in English will I keep speaking. This doesn't rhyme, but I don't care. And that's the end of this poem. Anyways, down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again. Up on the rooftop, the little spouter found a nice sunny spot high above the ground. She cleaned up the roof and she cleared the leaves away. She put down her things and decided she'd stay. The itsy bitsy spider worked hard all day long, making a home that was beautiful and strong. She spun a silky web, but just as she was done, the clouds grew dark with rain and covered up the sun. The itsy bitsy spider gazed at the sky, and then she left the first raindrop. Wait. Okay, I'm restarting that page, I don't care. The itsy bitsy spider gazed at the sun, and then she felt the first cold raindrop. Oh no, not again! But the itsy bitsy spider wasn't one bit scared. This time, the spider had climbed the spout and prepared. That's the end of the book. That's like disappointing. I didn't expect that ending. Look, I'm wearing pineapple glasses and I didn't expect that ending. 10 out of 10 would read again. Alright, the final book. Before I upload this to wherever I'm going to upload this. Because it's 3 in the morning and I'm going to forget about it. It's Curious George Visits the Library by Margaret and Harvey's. Wait, no, not Harvey's, no. It's not Harvey's. Excuse me for a second. Yeah, that's not menacing looking at all. Tea. Because I originally prepared this to be bigger. Anyways, Curious George Visits the Library by Margaret and H.A. Rays. This is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today, George and his friend, the man with the yellow hat, were at the library. George had never been to a library before. He had never seen so many books either. Wherever he looked, people were reading. Some people read quietly to themselves. But in the children's room, the librarian was reading aloud. It was story hour. George loves stories. Yo, story hour right here. He sat down with a group of children to listen to the librarian which was reading a book about a bunny. George likes bunnies. Behind the librarian was a book about a dinosaur. George liked dinosaurs even more. He hoped she would read it next. But the next librarian read a book about a train. George tried to sit quietly and wait for the dinosaur book to be read. Sometimes it is hard for a little monkey to be patient. When the librarian started a story about jungle animals, George could not wait any longer. He had to see the dinosaur book. He tiptoed closer. "Look, a monkey," shouted a girl. The librarian put her finger to her lips. "We must be quiet, everyone." We must be quiet so everyone can hear," she said nicely. "But there's a monkey," said a boy. The librarian nodded and smiled. "Mm-hmm," she agreed. When she finished reading the jungle story, the librarian reached for the dinosaur book. Where did it go? And where was George? George was all ready to take the dinosaur book home and read it with his friend when another book caught his eye. This book was about trucks. George wanted to take it home too. And here was a book about elephants. George loved elephants. He added it to his pile. George found so many good books. He soon had more than he could carry. He leaned against the shelf to rest. Squeak! Went the shelf. Shh, said a man. Squeak! Went the shelf again, and it moved. Why, it wasn't really a shelf after all. George had found a special cart for carrying books. What luck! Now George could carry all the books he wanted. He rolled the cart between shelves and stacked up books about boats and kites and baking cakes. He climbed higher to reach books about cranes and planes. At last George had all the books he could handle. He couldn't wait to head home and start reading. And right in front of him was a ramp leading to the door. George was curious. Could he roll the cart all the way home? Down the ramp George went. The cart rolled faster and faster. "Stop!" a librarian volunteer shouted. "Come back here with my cart." But George was too excited to listen. The cart was picking up speed and George was having fun. Until crash. I'm just going to replicate the noise. That was disappointing. George and the cart ran smack into a shelf of encyclopedias. Books flew up in the air, and so did George. He landed on a big pile right between O and P. The animation on this one's funny, not gonna lie. "Oh no!" moaned the volunteer when he saw the mess George had made. "How am I ever going to put book away?" I can't even make a voice right now. I'm too tired. Shite. "I'd like to borrow this one," said a boy from Story Hour. "And I'll take this one," said a girl. With help from George and the children, the books were sorted in no time. Soon thereafter, a small pile of George's favorites left. "Would you like to take those books home with you?" the volunteer asked George. He then took George to a special desk and helped him get his very own library card. George was holding his brand new card when his friend arrived with a stack of books of his own. "There you are, George," he said. "I see you are all ready to check out." She smiled when she saw George's pile. "I was wondering where the Book of Dinosaurs went." "Well," she said, "it's one of my favorites too." The librarian stamped the books and handed them back to George. Peekaboo. I'm looking in the camera and I'm stupid. With his books under one arm, George waved goodbye to the volunteer, the librarian, and the children from Story Hour. "Come see us again, George," the librarian said, waving back. "Enjoy your books." And he did. The end. Coincidentally, that's the end of story time. Alright. So, my final message is, I don't know. I guess don't get quarantined and die. Meanwhile, I became a ghost. Boo! No, but seriously. Stay inside. That's my final message. Goodbye.